So this will be the last class. So this is lecture number 47 of this introduction to physical metallurgy class, and this topic is also very important, right? Because at the end of the day, you want to find out whether the metals or whether the alloys are like they are crystalline or not, right? How to identify the materials are crystalline or not. So that can be done by using X-rays. Like when you face an accident and you there is a tear in your ligament, right? What do? You go to the doctor, orthopedic, and you have an X-ray of that, right? So what happens when you take the X-ray of your injured part? What will happen? The X-ray will pass through the empty region, right, where there will be no ligament, right? And the bone will not allow the other rays to go through it, right? And you get an image. You got where fracture occurs or where there will be a tear, right? The same thing happens to the metals. You can put X-rays onto the metallic materials and you can get lot of information. So X-ray is a very important tool to get lot of information. But we will not talk about those things. But one important thing I would like to say that you can at least get an information whether the atoms or molecules are orderly present or not. Because we know that crystalline materials means atoms will be present in ordered way, in 3 dimensions, or that is periodic way, periodic or arrangement of atoms, right? That is the crystalline materials, right? Suppose if it will be disordered or if it will be like random, then that is amorphous. Remember? Difference between crystalline and amorphous, right? Yes. And another important thing is you can also get what kind of crystal structure is present. Suppose you take an unknown metal, right? You do an XRD, X-ray diffraction analysis. You may get the information of crystal structure, whether it is FCC, whether it is BCC or HCP or something else, right? That kind of information you can get. Suppose I am saying gold is FCC. You want to confirm it. You can do an X-ray of gold and you get an information that it is FCC. That will clearly show you it is FCC, right? Suppose you take iron, right? You can do an XRD of it and you get an information that it is BCC. So X-ray is so important, right? To know the crystal structure, we have to use X-ray, right? You can get any information. Suppose you are designing an alloy, and in that alloy you have different phase. Listen carefully. You have suppose alpha, beta, gamma. Some different phases are present, and each phase is different from another by different in crystal structures. Alpha have different crystal structure, beta will be different, gamma will be different. So if you put X-ray on them, you will get whole information. That means it will show that alpha is there, beta is there, and gamma is there. Because you can get the knowledge of structures. It is FCC, BCC, or HCP, or something else, right? So it is so important, right? Anyways, so I think this part you might have studied in 11th or 12th, maybe. I'm not sure about that. Diffraction you have studied, right? Diffraction. Bending of light before an obstacle. You remember this simple concept. So here X-ray is also a wave, not exactly a particle. We remember now we have particle nature and wave nature, right? So basically X-ray is in wave. So if you are allowing a wave and in that path you have obstacle, so what will happen? It will get scattered or it will get diffracted. The same thing happens to the X-ray, right? You provide X-rays onto the metallic sample, it will fall onto the metallic sample, it will penetrate. Why? It will penetrate because it is high what? It is very strong, it has very low wavelength, so high energy, right? X-rays have very high energy because of lower wavelength or higher frequency, you can say, right? So it will penetrate into the metals and finally it will get scattered, or that is called diffraction of X-ray. In simple way, you are saying bending of light. So here X-ray will not bend, actually it will diffract. That means if this is the direction of the X-rays, you will get what? You will get a transmitted beam. That means all X-ray, suppose some of the X-ray will pass away. Some of the X-rays will may die like this. What is this? Diffraction. They are getting scattered, right? And some of the X-ray may get absorbed also by the material. 3 things may happen. When X-ray will interact with the metallic sample, some X-ray may get absorbed, some X-ray will get transmitted completely, some X-rays will get diffracted. So we are interested in this. By studying, by analyzing this one and this one, you can get lot of information. You can get lot of information, like you can get the crystal structures, whether it is BCC, FCC or something else, right? Lot of information can be obtained from XRD. Okay. Actually, the XRD is a 1 semester course. You can imagine, no? 1 semester course. In MTech, if you do MTech, you will go through this course, right? But our part is only Bragg's law. That is more important. Now we'll discuss about that. Bragg's law. The person who have discovered this concept, Bragg's law, the name is Bragg actually. There is a team of father and son. They got Nobel Prize for that. They have given laws, they get Nobel Prize for that. They are the only father and son team who have got Nobel Prize together for this. Anyway, we will not discuss that. We are not going to get any Nobel Prize. You may get, I am not sure about that. Okay, so now the thing is, okay, if somebody will ask, okay fine, if somebody will ask what will happen if two waves are coming and interacting with a sample, so what will happen? Yeah, interference will happen, right? You remember constructive interference and destructive interference, you remember? Because it is a wave, right? So this is the situation, for example. An another wave is present like this. So what will happen if they will interact? First wave and second wave. There will be a constructive interference because they are in phase. You can see this part and this part. They are in phase, right? So there will be a constructive interference. Fine. That means final wave will be of big one. Higher amplitude. Very good. You remember. This is the amplitude. Right? So final amplitude will be added up. But if situation is like this, so what will happen? Destructive. They will cancel out. You can see first one, second one. They will cancel out. That means in the first case you will get a diffracted beam, but in the second case you will not get any kind of diffracted beam. You understand my point? So that means if you want a diffracted beam, right, then you understand there is a constructive interference between the two waves. That means two X-ray beams are coming, interacting with the sample, and a diffracted beam is coming out. That means what is happening? Constructive interference is happening. But if two waves are coming and interacting with the sample, there is no diffracted beam, strong diffracted beam. That means there is a destructive interference. They cancel out completely. Up to this, people have understood now, right? So if you want to see a diffracted beam, a strong diffracted beam, that means constructive interference is happening. Now, there is a condition for constructive interference. You can write path difference. The condition for strong diffracted beam is, the condition to obtain a strong diffracted beam is the path difference. The path difference should be equal to integral multiple of wavelength. You might have heard this in 11th or 12th maybe, right? It will be integral multiple of the wavelength. If the path difference will be equal to integral multiple of wavelength, there will be a constructive interference, and if there will be a constructive interference, you will have a strong diffracted beam. Up to this it is okay? Because we want, what exactly we want? We want a strong diffracted beam. That beam we need to analyze. That beam will give you information. You understood all, right? Okay, now conditions I will show you. Can anybody guess what is this? This one is what and this one is what? It is clearly showing what is this and what is that. Incident beam and diffracted beam, right? Yes or no?
Yes.
So this is, and what is this? Can anybody guess? Just clearly, it is clearly visible. That is an atomic plane. First one is having an atomic plane, and there is a, because we understand if we are dealing with a crystalline materials, atoms will be arranged in a periodic fashion, in an ordered way, right? There will be a distance between the planes also, if you remember. That is called d-spacing. You have to remember. What is d-spacing? This is d-spacing. From here to here. In other way, I can say interplanar spacing. One plane and the plane. The spacing between the adjacent plane. The distance between the adjacent plane is called interplanar spacing or d-spacing simply. Right? People write DHKL. Anybody remember why DHKL? You remember the Miller indices, right? How we write Miller indices? HKL. Right? Because in x-axis that plane will intersect, y-axis also it intersects, and z-axis also intersect. That will give you HKL value. Right? So it is DHKL. You should not be confused on this. Fine? And these are what? These are
Atoms.
atoms. And these are also. That means the diffraction is happening where? On the atoms. So atoms are the obstacles. As you simple way. Bending of light before an obstacles. So same thing is happening. X-rays are coming, falling on atoms, and it is getting bent or it is getting scattered. Right? This is your incident. Is incident X-ray. But this is 1, this is 2. And what is this? These are diffracted. Or you can write diffracted beam or diffracted X-ray. But just tell me by looking at this image, what is the difference in the first and second? First means this is 1 and this is 2. What is the difference? There is a path difference. Just have a look. The second we have traveled more distance before diffraction. Yes or no?
Yes.
Just please check. The second one is traveling somewhat more distance. How much distance it traveled more? What I can do? Simple. I can draw a projection 90 degree. I can draw a projection. And this will be 10 minutes. It will be how much? 90. Just have a look. This amount, just have a look. This amount and this amount is same. Right? I can see this much of distance and this much of distance is same. Similarly, this much of distance and this much of distance is same. Right? So extra one is this and this. Right? Yes or no? This is your extra distance. This one and this one. So I can write, this is suppose O, this is P, this is Q, this is R. O, P, Q, R. Right? And okay, let me tell you another interesting point. Braggs, why Braggs got Nobel Prize? Let me see. Braggs, according to Braggs, the diffraction is nothing but this is a reflection actually. Actually, real situation is diffraction. But if you see, it is actually a reflection. How we can prove this is a reflection? Because we know in the physics there is a rule. Angle of incidence should be equal to angle of reflection. You can check. Angle of reflection is theta is equal to, this is also theta. Right? The angle of incident is equal to angle of reflection. So it is clearly fulfilling that it is a reflection. But real situation is diffraction. You should not be confused. And here also, this is theta, means this is also theta. Fine? And also reflection rules are also the normal to the plane, incident beam and reflected beam all lie in same plane. You can see all lie in same plane. Suppose this is your normal. Right? this is a normal, and this is an incident beam, and this is a reflected beam. All lie in same plane, same atomic plane, right? So again, this is a reflection, yes or no, right? So Braggs told actually diffraction is happening, but this is actually a reflection. So that's why he got Nobel Prize, and he discovered all the crystal structures. We have how many crystal systems? 7 crystal systems, right? 14 number of Braggs lattice. So he identified all those things by using X-rays only. Anyways, you understood up to this. You can write Bragg's first law. You can write the Bragg's first law tells that according to Bragg's first law, for any diffracted beam, there exists a set of atomic plane. For any diffracted beam, there exists a set of atomic plane for which the diffraction appears as a reflection. The diffractions appear as a reflection. Right? For which diffractions appear as a reflection. OPQ1. Okay, so that means this angle will be how much? This angle will be also theta? Yes or no? Just have a look. This angle is also theta. So I have a triangle. This is a right angle triangle. This is also a right angle triangle. I have 2 right angle triangles, right? Okay, now. Okay, so now if I will consider this first triangle OPQ. I'm writing OPQ triangle. Okay, so now what I want to say that this, I want that whether constructive interference has happened or not exactly. Because these constructive interference will happen, diffraction will happen. You will get a strong diffracted beam, right? So I told you the concept, integral multiple of wavelength should be equal to the path difference. That means I want to find out the path difference first. What is the path difference? And I have shown you the path difference. How much? PQ plus QR is the path difference. Yes or no? This is the extra distance second wave have traveled. This one. So path difference is PQ plus QR. I want to find out PQ and then I want to find out QR. And what I have knowledge, I have this information. What is this? D. Already you know this D. And you know this 90 degree. And this is you know theta. Right? So if I put formula sin theta for this triangle, that means this will be the base. Listen carefully. This will be your base because this is the angle formed. So this is base, this is your perpendicular, and this is your hypotenuse. Fine? So sin theta will be how much?
P by H.
PQ by?
OQ.
QP by?
OQ.
Yeah. What? PQ divided by? OQ. And we know what is then finally I want to find out PQ. Path difference, PQ, right? So PQ is equal to how much?
OQ sin theta.
OQ sin theta. And we know OQ is how much? D. So it will be
D sin theta.
D sin theta. Done? Fine. Similarly, you try to find out this one. QR. Again, this is a right angle triangle. Right? So I will write O R Q otherwise. O R Q. O R Q triangle. So again, what I can write sin theta is equal to how much? So this will be your
QR by OQ.
tell me. It will be QR by Q R. Sorry, QR.
QR by OQ.
QR by OQ. So finally, this QR is equal to how it will be?
OQ sin theta.
This is sin. Sin theta is equal to QR by OQ. So then this QR will be how much?
D sin theta.
Huh?
D sin theta.
So finally your path difference is how much? PQ plus QR. So d sin theta plus d sin theta.
2D sin
It will become 2d sin theta at the end. Understood? So your path difference will be PQ plus QR, that is equal to. And what I told, if you want to have a strong diffracted beam, then you should have a constructive interference. And to have a constructive interference, the path difference must be equal to integral multiple of wavelength. Right? Integral multiple of wavelength can be written as n lambda. N is the any number, integers, right? And lambda is the wavelength of the X-ray here, right? So n lambda is equal to 2d sin theta, right? You got the answer finally. So n lambda, you can write n lambda is equal to 2d sin theta. N lambda is equal to, because n lambda is equal to how much? PQ plus QR. Right? So if question will be write down the second law of Bragg, you have to write n lambda is equal to 2d sin theta, right? N means integers, lambda means the wavelength of X-ray, d means you know d interplanar spacing or d spacing, right? And sin theta you understand, theta, fine, angle, fine. So this is, some people get confused. Some people say, like, if somebody asks what is Bragg's law, many people tell n lambda is equal to 2d sin theta. But you should tell the first law first. What is the first law? You can check it. For any kind of diffracted beam, you have at least a set of what? Atomic planes for which the diffracted beam appears as a reflected beam, right? So that is the first, and this is the second law. And there is a relationship between this D and A. There is a relationship between D and A. A is what? Lattice parameter. You remember? Anybody remember? As length.
A by under root n square plus.
Yes, very good. You remember that. So there is a relationship. You can write DHKL. So you can write this is DHKL. So A is equal to how much? What you are saying? Can you repeat?
A by
A is equal to D. D is equal to A by
under root x square plus a square.
So this is the relationship. A is the lattice parameter, D is the interplanar spacing. So you might get a question in the exam, a numerical. You want to, what is the, like, some information will be given, and finally you have to find out either interplanar spacing or you have to find out the lattice parameters. But this is for which system? Only cubic system, because edge length are same for the cube. But if it will be tetragonal, then it will be changed, obviously not. If it will be orthorhombic or something else, it will change. But if it is a cubic system, this is the relationship D and A. Fine. Let me draw a picture. Can anybody figure it out? What is this? You have incident X-rays, and this is a material having atomic planes. So when X-ray will fall on a material with a crystalline materials, it will scattered by all atoms in all direction. Listen carefully. Yeah.
सर अगर एटम्स के ऊपर मतलब एक्सरे मतलब पेनिट्रेट नहीं होगे वॉइड्स के ऊपर होगा तो क्या होगा?
Voids, it will get transmitted. It will get transmitted. That's why I told when X-ray will come and interact with the sample, some of the X-ray will get absorbed Some of the X-ray will transmit it completely, it will come out, and some of the X-rays will get diffracted. Or we are interested in the diffracted beam because the information is there in the diffracted beam. You understand my point? By looking at the diffracted beam informations, we can get the different things, right? We are not interested in transmitted beam or absorbed one, right? So this is the thing, the real situations. But I told one thing. If X-ray, incoming X-ray is diffracted in all directions, that doesn't mean you have a strong diffracted beam at the end. It will be not so. Condition is what? There should be a constructive interference, right? Suppose you have a plane, and for that there is a completely strong beam is there. So this is your diffracted beam. The strong diffracted beam is this one. Fine. You can see in all directions there is scattering, but that means many waves will come out finally. If there will be a constructive interference, then a big peak will be there. Otherwise others are destructive beams, you can say, right? So this is the strong beam you will get finally. Fine. So similarly, what I told for the first law, there will be a, you can see, suppose this is coming, this is going. So this angle is equal to this angle. You got my answer? The first law you can check. For any diffracted beam, there will be certain set of atomic planes for which the diffracted beam appears as a reflection. Just see, there is a reflection here. That means a plane is here, a plane is here, a plane is here. That's why. And this is incident, this is diffracted. This is incident, this is diffracted, right? This angle is equal to this angle, 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 right? Reflection concept is fine. The angle of incident is equal to angle of reflection, but really is diffraction, right? Similarly, suppose you are saying, suppose you may say that maybe diffraction will happen here, like this. So for this beam, there will be another set of planes will be available, like this, for example. The set of planes will be like this. So if the incident beam will be like this, okay. And this is the, so this angle will be equal to this angle. You can have lot of strong beams, but for each diffracted beam finally you have a particular set of plane available in the system. The plane may be like this, plane may be like this, maybe like this. But condition is the diffracted beam, there will be a particular set of planes for which it will appear as a reflection completely. So Braggs is saying you can consider diffraction as a reflection, simply. But anybody remember what is the main difference between reflection and diffraction? The angle of incident is considered in which way? In reflection, and in which way we are considering angle of reflection and angle of diffraction or incident?
रिफ्लेक्शन में परपेंडिकुलर
Yes, perpendicular के साथ consider करते हैं. याद आ रहा है कि नहीं? ऐसे. So this is a plane, this is a normal, and this is the incident beam, this is the reflected beam, right? We consider this angle, right?
Yes, sir.
You remember?
Yes, sir.
This is a normal. This angle should be this angle, but in this diffraction, we are considering which angle? This angle and this angle. You understood? That is the difference here only. But second condition is fulfilled. The normal, incident beam and reflected beam all lie in same plane. So if there will be a question like find out the D spacing, you can use this formula. If wavelength of X-ray will be given and theta value will be given, you can easily use this formula. Lambda is equal to 2D sin theta. No problem. You can simply write lambda is equal to 2D sin theta. No need to write n lambda. Automatically n is 1 over there. That means. So lambda is equal to 2D sin theta. You can find out D. So if the question will be find out A. So first of all you have to find out D by using lambda is equal to 2D sin theta. From that you can apply to find out A. So you can get numericals like this. Okay, finally you can stop the recording.